Hey, Pool Chasers. Thank you for joining us today in episode 56 of the Pool Chasers podcast. Our mission is to help educate and inspire in the form of a podcast. We had the great pleasure of sitting down with Genesis SWD Master Rick Chafey. Rick is the owner of Red Rock Contractors and Red Rock Pools. We discussed the importance of understanding what kind of possibilities are out there to offer to your customers and also being educated on those possibilities. You know, renovations can be anything from a small change to an equipment pad to a full-blown remodel. But no matter what kind of change you are making in a backyard, it is always important to be knowledgeable and confident in what you are selling. In this episode, we talk all about what's out there to help you do that.
Welcome to your go-to podcast for the pool and spa industry. My name is Tyler Rasmussen.
And my name is Greg Villafania. And this is the Pool Chasers Podcast.
All right, well, thank you for joining us today, Rick.
Good afternoon. How are you guys?
Doing good, thank you. So for the listeners out there that may have not heard your story, which we had on episode 15 of the podcast, can you kind of please introduce yourself and what it is you do?
Okay, I'm Rick Chafey. I own a company called Red Rock Contractors and Red Rock Pools and Spas. We do a number of construction activities across Arizona and a couple different states. Majority of what we do is swimming pool construction and high-level swimming pools. So we get into really complex type projects. And then I'm also one of the instructors for Genesis 3 and Genesis University, where we do a lot of in-depth construction classes and design classes for the swimming pool industry and across the board. And then we do some consulting work across the country as well as a lot of design work as a firm.
Cool. Thank you. And speaking of the Genesis, SWD Master, can you share with us why you chose to go through the program and kind of your career path through that process?
I can. So, early on, we were building pools. We were hiring people to build pools for us because we're a general contractor as well. And we saw we had a little bit of a passion for it, but we also kind of saw a lack of high quality skilled members of that industry. Not that there's not good builders out there, but we weren't finding them very easily. And so we started to seek, as the general contractor, seek some education on the building side so we could better understand how to manage the project and or understand when it's being done right. And we kind of stumbled into Genesis. We went to an international pool show. My partner went to a Association of Pool APSP classes, and I fell into a Genesis class just to feel it out. We took one of their free 1-hour seminars. We had built a couple pools at this point. We thought we kind of knew what we were doing. We felt like we had kind of felt the groove a little bit. We've done a couple kidney-shaped pools with the rock waterfall. We were killing it. So and then we sat through a couple of these little 1-hour seminars that were being given before the international pool show, and both of us kind of walked out there we absolutely have no idea what we're doing, right? I mean, we're calling somebody and they dig a hole, and we call somebody else and he puts plumbing in the ground, and we sort of understand there's a pump and a filter, but we really, literally had no education to understand it. And so just a couple hours of free, lecture basically of just different aspects of pool. I don't know if I probably took a shotcrete class or something and heard somebody tell me about shotcrete strength in different parts. And because we're a general contractor and a construction professionals at some level. I have an engineering degree. We understand those things, but we never really applied them in the pool world. And so it just really enlightened us to what lack of education we had. So we immediately, I did anyway, just dug in. I'm big on education. I like having a better understanding of what's going on. I like being able to help understand or direct the guys in the field. And I've also learned in the construction industry, all of us as general contractors for sure tend to rely on our subcontractors and suppliers as our knowledge base. And often they're more experienced for sure. Doesn't mean they're have a better knowledge base, right? They might have a lot of experience doing it a certain way or doing it for years. But I also have found that they don't always have the education piece that really explains to them why it should be done the right way or the wrong way. And just as an industry, we're not very well regulated. And so nobody's really making sure we're keeping up on the education side of stuff. And we're dealing with a very complex project. We've done, houses in the multi-million-dollar ranges, and I've built, $200,000 pools that were more complicated than a multi-million-dollar house. We got hydraulics, we got soils issues, we got plumbing, we got electrical, we got waterproofing, we got glass tile. There's just a lot of pieces moving, and to jump into that industry without much knowledge is risky at best. And once you start getting a little bit of knowledge, if you're like me, it just kind of starts to pile on. The more you know, or the more you learn, the more you know you don't understand. And so you just start feeling that need. And so for me, it became a very important path for me to take, to start getting the best education I could. And so I just jumped in. I went and, I bit the bullet. I I couldn't believe I was going to spend $2,000 to come take a class. I'm like, $2,000, this is, is it going to make it worth my time? And I don't remember which class I took first, but I either took basic construction or I took the hydraulics class or something. And I sat there for 2 days and But, the first hour, my jaw was on the ground. And then I spent the next 16 hours just continuing to add. And, certain things I knew for sure because I'm in construction and we've done a lot of heavy duty construction too. But there was so many little nuances and aspects of pool construction that we had no knowledge of or didn't know how to apply it. And we're counting on plumbers to know the hydraulics. The plumbers should know the hydraulics, but they don't necessarily know them either. And so we would put on a plan and say equipment goes here, and we wouldn't specify plumbing sizes or do any hydraulics, and we'd pull a permit and build a pool, and the customer's happy, and we walk away. But we slowly learned as we started increasing the technical tide, negative edges and perimeter over, the hard stuff. Wow, we don't know what we're doing. And we, just like anybody else, we had failures with tile falling off negative edges or basins being too small for the surge basin. And those classes just started piling in, and we figured out real quick that we needed to maximize what we knew. We had been able to capture a couple of big projects that had, some pretty good difficulty to them. And I think we pulled them off within reason. But looking back, as we started taking classes, we're like, whew, hopefully we don't have any more problems with that pool. Literally, you really figure out what you did wrong. And so it drew me into the program. I went as fast as I could. I had to travel all over the country, had to take a bunch of classes. But the more like I said, I just kept getting more and more, and I just got hungrier. And then I became part of the community with all the different people involved in it. You'll see it's a fairly small community in the pool world anyway. And then on the educated pool world, it's even smaller. On the Genesis side, it's even smaller. So you start creating that, that community base too. And now you start realizing you have some relations that have even more knowledge, and you have their cell phone number, kind of like you get a phone number to somebody that's really important that has a bunch of knowledge. You actually get their phone. Holy crap, I get this guy's cell phone number. I got David Peterson's cell phone number. I could call him if I have a real question. And then you start, so slowly through there. And then it just became natural for me to be highly integrated. I started getting, once in a while, I'd get asked to come present something to somebody at one of the shows. And I slowly became more and more involved, wanted to start teaching with them. And so they asked me to do that. So I started doing instructing. And it's really a way for me, instructing just furthers my depth of knowledge. The more I stand in front of talk to people and get feedback from them and learn their problems and relate them to our problems and learn how to solve those, it just gives me my depth of knowledge just increases greatly too. So it's gives back to them at some level, but it's also selfish on my part. I think I learn as much every time I walk away from a class. And it just, it's given me huge confidence to be able to go step out and do, we've done pools off the side of cliffs, pools on the top of houses, pools on top of commercial buildings, projects that are millions and millions of dollars with all kinds of stuff going on. And we now have the confidence and the complete capacity to design it, engineer it, know we did it correctly, and minimize the risk involved. And the higher up you go into the chain of money being spent on a project, the more risk you have involved, and the less, the more risk you could get if it goes wrong, right? It's very easy to manage a $100,000 pool problem, or $100,000 pool. You have a small problem, it's $10,000. It's probably cheaper just to fix it. $2 million pool problem might be a couple $100,000. Might not be able to afford to fix it. Might not have a choice, right? So maybe we should avoid the problem. And the best way to do that is to make sure you understand it. And like I said, there's so many parts in a pool, from construction to service to long-term maintenance, there's a lot of things moving, a lot of pieces and parts, and none of them really want to hold up well. We got water and concrete and, stones and filters and pumps and electrical and chemicals. And you're just asking for all these things to kind of fight each other a little bit. And if you really understand how to make them work better, your long-term outcome's great. So it just turned into a great long-term career path that's helped build our business. We get business from being a part of that group. We have a great resource for all kinds of our problems. We do an interior building, a pool inside of a building. When we hadn't done that before, I know a guy. He's a Genesis instructor just like me. I can talk to Kevin Ruddy. He'll give you some information. So it's more that than anything, I think, is having a great resource for the background of what we're doing. And we learn too that we hire other people to design stuff and we don't know what we're doing. Instead of trying to wing it, if it's outside of our scope or outside of our abilities, we now have all those connections of who else to hire that has experience doing just those things.
What was it like going back to work after taking that first Genesis class that you went to? Because I'm sure you had a whole different perspective on how pools were being built.
I think during the first class, like first break, I probably went back and made a few phone calls. Right? Hey, don't shoot that concrete today. We're going to change something today.
I'm going to send your money back.
Yeah, but I would bet we lost money early. You know what I mean? We probably. I'm one of those guys that likes to do things right. I had probably sold some projects that we weren't in position to do correctly based on how we sold them. And I know we probably had to go back and just eat it to get it done right. And where we could, we did, I'm sure. But it was fascinating to me how much knowledge I could get in a short period of time and how well I could apply it immediately. I think that's the biggest thing. Like I said, I probably left at the first break and started applying some things I had just learned because I'm like, wow, we're doing that wrong. Didn't even know that was an issue. And it's funny, the municipalities and the inspectors and even the other pool builders or subcontractor base, they really aren't that aware of a lot of the nuances it takes to build a pool. And so that little bit of education really helped us start to figure that out. So it was scary more than anything else. I think I left that first day of class thinking, holy crap, I got a lot to learn. And maybe I shouldn't be building pools. Maybe I should learn more and then go to building pools. We, like anybody else, we didn't really have the option to say, oh, I'll just take a year off and go get an education and come back and try to make money. So we just adapted as fast as possible. But it was scary to know how much we were doing wrong.
When, the Genesis classes are being taught, is there a kind of a good open platform for Q&A either during class or after? Because I feel like if I were taking classes, that would be something that I'd really want to do, is like more, some one-on-one sessions, not to take up a lot of time, but like, hey, I kind of have this project and I'm, not sure what to do at this point. Can I get some, pointers or something like that?
Yeah, I think you'll find usually anybody that's instructing a class, whoever, some of our classes have 5, 6, 7 instructors, some have 1 or 2. We always actually give out cell phone numbers, email addresses at the beginning of class, so you can reach out to us at some point. But especially when we do like the international shows, not only do we have time at breaks, we usually try to have lunch. When we do a 2 or 3 day class, we're having lunches and dinners together with students too, to make sure we have that close interaction. Our classes aren't very big. We'll have 20 to 40 students at a time. So we'll have a lunch and we'll have 5 or 6 instructors that's sitting at lunch in a class that's got 40 people. And so you get some face time. But also when we do international shows, we have a big booth inside the show. And we always have that manned with anywhere from 1 to 10, either masters or Society of Watershape Designer registered guys in the booth. So that absolutely that you can say, hey, Rick, I saw your presentation on that rooftop pool. I've got a project that I'm working on. I got some questions. And that's why we're there. We want to sit there and we'll help digest that with you a little bit and see if we can give you some pointers or some help, or even maybe give you a direction. You know what? If it's got acrylic on it, Peterson's got some knowledge on that type of acrylic project. You should go meet with him. You really will find a great avenue of referrals in that group too. But you'll get a ton of face time after and before classes, but especially at the international shows where we have a big booth. We spend countless hours up there just chatting. You can bring a set of plans. You can sit. We got a conference table there. We got a couple of couches. We drink some wine, eat some cheese, and just relax and go through that stuff. But it's a great opportunity to kind of clear a few things up and get some better ideas on how to finish what you're working on.
Nice. That's really cool.
I think, you mentioned that as you learned more and you started to think about the projects that you were immediately working on right then. I think that's how it's been for us too, with the podcast and interviewing experts in certain areas and figuring out, oh, well, I remember that pool that we had that issue with, like now I know how to fix it or prevent it in the future. That's kind of the coolest part, I think, of the podcast and just learning. And for people listening, like if you can learn and hear those type of things, then you can really realize like, hey, oh, I do have a project that has that problem right now. And now I know how to fix it. And that's like what education brings you. And it's brought us, I know, from us interviewing different people and learning about their experiences and taking more classes and getting more educated. And it's like, all right, well, now I've seen that stuff in the field. Now I know how to fix it or prevent it. So that's pretty cool. Like be able to see that kind of stuff and use it in the real world.
Well, I think the first thing you got to do is humble yourself, right? You got to recognize that actually there is other people that know more than me. And I think that's, in the pool construction world, there's the old crotchety guy that's been digging pools for 27 years and these young guys ain't going to tell me how to do mine. And at some level, his knowledge of experience is way more in depth than I'll ever have. And so I don't want to try to encroach on what his depth of knowledge is and his experience is, but what he has to do is be able to willing to say, wait a minute, this young guy might have learned something that nobody ever taught me. And it kind of goes both ways, right? And I think that you've got both issues in the pool world. You've got some guys that are super young and don't want to learn, or you have guys that are really old that don't think they need to learn. But if either one of those, once you humble yourself a little bit, like I said, I think it was just random choice. We like, let's go take some classes. We went there went to the pool show to see pool stuff. I wasn't there to get an education necessarily. I'm like, oh, I can take a couple of free seminars. Okay. Cause we didn't pay for classes the first time we went. I just wanted to go see all the new stuff and be able to sell a different, piece of tile or different piece of stone or something. And decided, oh, I can also take these free seminars and just, sat in one seminar. And I could have went in there and went, yeah, a bunch of idiots. I've been doing this whole time. I know what I'm doing. Or I could have went, wow, I'm not doing this correctly. Maybe I need to learn this. And so it's a humbling experience for sure. And I think both me and my partner got humbled real quick. and learned that we needed, even today, I mean, I'm listed as a Society of Water Shape Designers Masters. I still got a ton to learn. We still do stuff wrong. We're still learning every day. We deal with all kinds of issues in the pool world. We got submerged tile issues. We got waterproofing issues. We got, it's a myriad of issues. We're not perfect by any means, but it's amazing how much better you can be at what you're doing and how much less risk you have to take when you start understanding how you should do it, and even understanding when you should not do something, right? You get requests to do something that you now know you shouldn't be doing. Well, my neighbor had it done that way. I know, but she's going to have these future problems. I want to do it this way for you. And they'll figure it out.
It can help you be proactive too, and you can set yourself up for those type of things that like, okay, well, if that's been an issue in the past, like we can't build it this way because we've already done it and seen it fail, or help be proactive with what you're doing so that you're not running into those situations later and costing you more money.
For sure. I mean, we see repeat failures by pool builders all the time, and I think because most people are so transient where they live that it rarely gets back to the builder to have to manage. By then, it's on owner number 2 or 3. And nobody knows who to go after anyway. And so the builder thinks I'm doing everything right. Nobody's actually went back to him and said, hey, the pool that should have lasted 10 years is 3.5 years old, and I had to fix all these things. So he doesn't realize he's even not doing it right. He's doing it like everybody else. He's trying to be competitive. He's doing what, the stone guy said he always does it that way. Why do it differently? Well, the stone guy doesn't have the knowledge behind it. The stone guy hasn't, when you got a guy like Paulo, who we spoke of earlier, he goes and does a bunch of expert witness work. He's seen hundreds of pool failures. That guy probably has some knowledge on what we should not be doing and not keep repeating, right? And most of the failures he goes to are just the same repetitive problems at every pool. And we do some of that too. We're not anywhere near what he does, but I can go to just about any pool and list, before I even get in the backyard, and say, I'll bet you I can find these 5 things wrong with that pool. And we continue to repeat that because we're creatures of habit, and we've not humbled ourselves to say we should learn to be better. And the construction world just kind of puts you in that mode. And people get busy, and the industry's good. It's easy. Like right now, it's so easy to stay busy as a pool builder, no matter how bad you are, right? Because everybody wants a pool. And if I don't have time to get your pool, they'll hire somebody that doesn't know how to build your pool, but he's got time, right? So they get their pool anyway. So it's tough. I think you'll find, whether you're in the service industry or in the construction industry, the education side for me is what'll excel you to be better and be able to manage market changes, market turns, and give you a lot of credibility in the industry to be able to kind of branch out and manage a lot of different parts of just building pools.
And I think you'll be able to be much more progressive if you have the confidence. If you understand how all these things work, you're going to have the confidence to actually design much more complex pools. And it's like, yeah, we can definitely do that because of this and this. And you actually understand it. Because if you don't understand any of that, it's like, no, we're just going to keep it basic. We're going to keep it right here in this sweet spot because I'm not sure how the hell these people are doing that.
Well, you get the confidence, and then you build the resource base when you don't know what you're doing to be able to get somebody that does. That most projects have a team. When you get bigger and bigger projects, there's a team of individuals because there's all these different experts. And I got an expert in acrylic, and I got an expert in waterproofing, I got an expert in glass tile, and now I have an expert. You assemble the team to do this really complex project because you don't need to know everything. Hire the guys that know a piece of what you need to know, and they're the experts at it. I know a lot about every part of pool building, but I'm more of an expert in a few different nuances. But I know there's guys that have, when I get in a really, really tough engineering situation, I'll get with Dave Peterson. Not that I don't have a local pool engineer that we use, not that I don't have a civil engineer on my own staff, but I know if I call Dave, he's designed hundreds of pools. He might have designed a pool with this same issue and has a creative solution to it that I would have never thought of. Not that I couldn't have figured out an idea of making it work, or he might have a creative issue he tried that I was thinking about trying that he said, it didn't work. Don't do that, right? So again, it's back to the humbling part, being willing to call somebody and say, hey, I don't know. Tyler, I don't really know how to do this. Can you explain that to me better? And it's funny, in this world, a lot of people are afraid to be humbled and ask those questions, or sometimes you ask and you kind of get belittled for asking the question. And then you also got to be respectful when someone asks dumb questions or maybe a question they ought to know the answer to, and make sure you help educate them through the process so they come back to ask again. Otherwise, they just run off and keep doing it wrong.
Right.
So I want to take a minute to introduce our newest sponsor and supporter, Ledge Lounger.
Oh yeah, really excited and thankful to have y'all on board with us.
Yeah, we actually recorded an episode with Christopher Anderson, the CEO and founder of Ledge Lounger. It is actually episode 29, so if you have not heard it and to understand more of the story, go check it out.
Definitely one of our favorites. So I think the easiest way to describe their product is they make a high quality outdoor furniture that looks amazing, especially by the pool. Their signature product is a chase, and I can't think of a more iconic piece in our industry than that.
Definitely.
The chase sits in the water on Baja or Sunshelf. You might notice people tanning on these on Instagram, and their feed is just blowing up with thousands of likes and comments.
Oh, yeah, I've definitely seen those.
So probably rings a bell now.
Yeah, so we just actually recently went to Brookshire, Texas to meet up with the Ledge Lounger team, and we took a tour of the facility and really got to understand the company and culture so much more. Everyone was so full of energy and excited to be part of the team, and they all did their jobs flawlessly.
And they just came out with a line of games. And these games are made out of the same high quality materials as our outdoor furniture. And, they're designed to go poolside just like the furniture is, which is really cool. And while we were there, we were able to test drive one of their new games, the ping pong table. And let me tell you,
Yes, please tell us.
I don't know if you saw on our Instagram IGTV, but I was passing out whoopings on their ping pong table.
Oh, my.
I mean, Tyler and JC, they just, if you see the IGTV, you'll know they just didn't stand a chance. I mean, I really felt like Forrest Gump in his prime.
Oh, my.
Just kidding. Y'all tried. I mean, you do get an A for effort.
Oh, thanks. So anyway, if you want to find out more about Ledge Lounger, go to ledgelounger.com. Before we move on to the next thing, I wanted to kind of jump back to what you saying, am I going to spend $2,000 for a class? And is it worth it? Because I think that's kind of a little bit of a stipulation around some of these classes is they're pretty pricey. So how do you feel, that it was it worth your $2,000 in that initial one? And how do you feel like it's, progressed your career like by paying? Was it worth that money?
Absolutely. I was no different than anybody else. I think I looked at, one, I saw all these free classes. I took all the free ones, right? Oh, I can do an hour here, and I did all those. And I quickly figured out in those little snippets of a class that I needed more education. But then when I looked at the price, I guarantee you when I left my first show in Las Vegas, I then looked at the book and about $2,500. I'm like, man, that ain't happening. Off to work we went, right? Had some knowledge base. I'll just come back and take some more free classes. But I think I spent a little bit more time in that year, and I still probably struggled to whether I could afford it or not. I don't even remember at this point. It's so long ago. But I remember struggling with the idea of spending that kind of money for 2 days worth of instruction or 3 days worth of instruction, and certainly knew going in that I might have risked a bunch of money. But I also, there is no question that walking out of that, there's so much knowledge that I've gotten from every class I've taken that I could apply immediately to what I was doing. There's never a time I've spent the $2,500 or $2,000 or $1,800. There's all kinds of different prices depending on what you're taking, but I've never spent that money and left the class 2 days later thinking, wow, that was a waste of my time. I probably would have paid double for some of these classes. And when I look at our hydraulics course, we have 2 different hydraulic courses now, an intro and an advanced. You walk out of the intro to hydraulics after 2.5 days from taking that class with software that's probably worth $10,000 that's been put together by Dave Peterson and a number of other people adding to it over time. But you walk out with a piece of software that is priceless if you're building complicated pools. It's got every possible hydraulic calculation and problem type you could ever run into. And literally it's got it designed into charts and forms that you can basically fill out like you would it because it's based just for swimming pool. It doesn't have all these crazy hydraulic equations that you would be doing if you're a nuclear engineer. It's all dumbed down to pool building stuff only, which is still very complicated when you get into gravity flows and all, some other issues. But it's all brought together there, so you literally can fill out the form. It tells you what questions to ask to give you the answers, and the knowledge. Just that piece. You build how to size a surge basin. There's some rules of thumb to do some of that, but you cannot find a good publication on how you should size your surge basin. You take that class, not only do you know how to size one now, it matters about rain, evaporation, bather load, square foot of the body, all these different parts and pieces. There's a form to fill out that dumps that information into your hands and tells you need this many gallons. And you need a water level, minimum operating level should be set here. Your float should be set here. And if you get into a surge basin or underground tank that's round, that's a very complicated calculation to figure out the volume of that based on where you need to have all your parts and pieces. It gives you all that information comes out of it by putting in a few parameters. That little piece of software would pay for it. If you could get your hands on that without taking the class, it'd still be worth taking it. But those are the little things you get. And then you get into construction and start learning the things you should be doing differently that will save you long-term problems and how much money you're going to save on that later. I have not taken a class ever that I felt like I wasted any of my time on. And certainly didn't feel like I overpaid for it. It is a lot of money. There's no question. You're a struggling pool guy or a new pool guy starting out. or you're a service technician that's wanting to get into, like we have the class coming up, renovations, or you want to start learning about construction. That's a bunch of money to throw out there. And even for big employers, we got big monster pool builders that build 200 pools a year that would find it unreasonable to spend that kind of money on education. But I think they would quickly find that as long as they can adapt their model of business to up their game to a higher quality of building, the reason I bring that up, it's not easy. If you're building 500 pools a year, you couldn't enact all the Genesis modules into your business very quickly without having to completely manipulate what you do for a business. And there's nothing wrong with their business model. It's just different, right? But if you're a pool builder that wants to get into building the best quality pools you can build and understand how to make them the most efficient, how to make them last long term, and honestly just meet code. Most pools don't even meet code. Most pools constructed in the US, probably, this is a number off the top of my head, probably 80% of them have code issues on them, and probably anywhere from 2 to 10 code issues that we can point out just by walking the job in 5 minutes. That's just basic knowledge you ought to have if you're in the pool building world, right? And so starting to learn those pieces and parts, being able to educate your subcontractor base on why and how you're doing stuff differently, why it matters, and letting them see the benefits of doing that, it pays off big time. And so it is definitely a big nut to crack to pay that kind of money. But if you really think about it, let's say you're looking at taking a class, start thinking today, okay, I'm going to take a class next year at the next international show. Well, that's 14 months away. So put $100 a month in the bank, start building up some money. It's well worth it. And then the relationships I've created throughout that business has brought me more business. Mm-hmm. Certainly more. I mean, honestly, I've probably spent $100,000 on my swimming pool education over the last 20 years. That's a big bunch of money. I guarantee you I've made all of that back in spades. And a lot of that's because either relationships get referred to me. You know, someone calls me and says, hey, I saw you did a couple pools with acrylic. I'm doing a job in LA that's got a bunch of crazy acrylic on it. I don't love acrylic, but I'm pretty good at it. I understand how to use it. I know all the nuances of it. So here we have a job in LA that we've done, thousands and thousands of dollars worth of design work for, because somebody else in the pool industry got a phone call that knows me, that knows I can do acrylic work, right? I would have never got that without creating a relationship of a class that I took in one of these shows. So it's long-term payout is definitely worth it, but it's a struggle. Don't get me wrong. But I guarantee you, if you sign up and take basic construction, you take renovations, or you take hydraulics, there's nobody that's going to walk out of there and say that was a waste of my money. These guys don't know what they're talking about. Most people walk out of there and say, when can I sign up for the next class? Almost every time.
Yeah, I think it's all mindset. I think if you were to really, write down the class and all the benefits that you would get out of it, I mean, even down to you're now knowledgeable about that topic and you can actually talk about it with your team and make your team better. So you're pretty much spreading, what you've learned in that class throughout your whole entire team. That's Absolutely. A really important piece as well. And just that networking piece that you're talking about, making your team better and having the resources, that's just, you're going to have that for a long time. And $2,000, that's actually, you can actually go learn it and apply it. It's not so easy to maybe go to college and spend even more money and to get into the real world and apply it. This is actually for your trade. It's not so vague in, going and getting like a marketing degree or something. It's like, well, what am I going to do with this? You can actually, because you got to be smart about it. It's like, okay, these are things I want to learn, I want to do, and I want to, just kind of get a taste. And you go to, like the renovation class, and it's cool because it's like you're testing out the waters, and it's like, wow, like I really need to do more of this because I'm going to be able to. But I think it's important to make a list of all the benefits that it's going to have on your business, because if you just go into it right away, just $2,000, no, like you're not even thinking about anything else. It's just, you're just automatically like money. Nope, not doing it.
Well, there's two things that everybody complains about: the cost and the amount of time, right? I don't have 2 days. You know what? Here's the deal. I don't have 2 days to go on vacation either. You know what I do for vacation? We figure out a time to go on vacation. Me and my wife pick a date. I set a week aside, and guess what? I show up. Because if I don't set a week aside and I don't do it, I would never go on vacation. I could work 7 days a week. I could work in my office till midnight if I wanted to. There's plenty of work, but you have to just set the parameters in place and make it happen. And you certainly, let's take the renovations course. Listen, if you don't walk out, if you're a service guy and right now you're doing service work and once in a while you're doing equipment change outs or doing some real minor stuff and you're making a couple extra bucks, if you get yourself in a position to start to renovate pools, you can make as much money renovating one pool as you're making for the entire month of pushing poles around as a service guy. Well, how do you get into that? Well, you can do a $20,000, $30,000 renovation and make back all that money in one renovation. And you can risk it and try to do that without any knowledge, or you can spend $2,000 up front investing in your future, and then you can do 20 of those renovations. And that's what you need to look at. And even guys that are building pools already, you're already building pools, so you think you know what you're doing. That's fine. You probably have a great experience doing all the different parts. You've probably learned a lot doing it. I guarantee you, though, in 24 hours of taking a construction school that's 24 hours long, you're going to condense probably 5 years of experience into 24 hours. Is that 2.5 days a long time? It is. But you could also wait and learn that over the next 2.5, 3 or 4 years to get that much knowledge. But the amount of knowledge you get in 8 to 10 hour classes, they're very intensive classes. We're not dealing with an hour seminar and you learn a little bit, or you go and learn how to program an automation panel. That's not what we're doing. We're going to sit you in a class and spend 24 hours or 16 hours shoving in your brain all the parts and letting you walk away with a resource guide of all those different things. You can't even consume it all in the classroom. You're going to see it all. You're going to hear it all. It's going to go in one ear, out the other. Some of it's going to stick, and the rest of it you're going to walk out with in your hands and be able to refer back to. But I guarantee you can make up that money in a matter of days, if not months, to get in that class taken for.
Yeah. Do you get any books with that fee as well?
Absolutely. Like I said, almost every class is going to come with a textbook or a manual, and we've continued to improve those and better those now. They used to be, and some of them still are, copies of our presentations that we're giving, basically. So they're basically just hard copies of a presentation. But now they've really went through and rewritten a bunch of those to turn them into literal text. So they are a manual of construction with photographs and all, like everything we're going to learn in that class. The construction class is a 1-inch spiral bound binder that you walk out with that is, I don't know how many pages, 200 plus pages, double-sided, of all the different things we're going to cover, from shotcrete to soils to forming to interiors to plasters to waterproofing, electrical, mechanical, plumbing, all the codes, all that information's in that book, and you walk out with that book. Again, priceless piece of information.
That's crazy. That alone is probably worth more than $2,000.
Well, I tell you, go ahead and go on Google or go on Amazon. Find yourself a pool building book. Find one. It won't amount to anything if you find it. It's going to be mostly designs and pretty pictures of ideas to build pools. In this class, you'll get all that. The hydraulics course gives you software. Like I said, you can go in and figure out the most complex piece of any pool hydraulically. There's a way to do it on that software program. You don't have that anywhere. You can go study. You can find some formulas. You can figure out the Hazen-Williams formula and figure out, you can do all that. Or you can take this class, understand all that, learn it, and then have a resource to type it in and have it give you an answer. Well, which one's do you think that's going to save you a little bit of time? It's going to save you hundreds of hours of time, and you're going to have backup for why you're doing it that way, right? So now you actually can walk in and say, let's say you don't have much room for a negative edge basin, and you always, I just use a rule of thumb, I need 2 inches of water, blah, 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 and you come up with this huge basin. What if there's no room for that basin? Well, you could risk shrinking it, or you could actually know how to do the math and prove that you can shrink it. Why not know the math and prove that you can shrink it and know that it'll work before you take the risk? And maybe you'll save square footage of basin and save on the money anyway, because you have less construction cost. But it definitely pays for itself. And I think the renovation course as well is one of those programs that really starts to explain to somebody when they renovate a pool. We're not talking lipstick. We're not just putting a new colored deck and new waterline tile. We're talking, what can I do to this concrete shell that sits here? What can I actually do to it? How many different ways can I renovate it? Sure, we can chip it and put new plaster in it. But wait a minute, what if I want to add a spa? Is there a way to do that? Sure. Do you understand how to work shotcrete construction together with an old piece of shotcrete and tie the rebar together, and how to make it work together and be waterproof and be structurally solid? Most people don't. Most people would be afraid to attack that. We're going to walk you through how to do that and exactly what things you need to do so you make sure it performs, and give you the ability and the knowledge to go out there and sell somebody that says, well, I kind of want to add a spa. Well, why don't we do, we can just do a fiberglass spa and set it on your patio. No. Don't let them spend $6,000 at the pool store down the street. Have them spend $20,000 with you. Build a water feature and a pool and a spa and renovate it and make some bucks. And that'll teach you those things so you can understand what you're doing.
Very good. Thank you so much, Rick. Appreciate it.
We want to take a second to get to know our sponsor, MPT, a little bit better. So we're very excited to talk to MPT product manager, Summer Wynn. Summer, I've always wondered what differentiates a box door tile from a pool tile.
What differentiates pool tile from any tile you get from a big box store or such is, first of all, because we sell pool tile on a national level in different climates, our pool tile needs to be frost resistant. So this is getting a little technical, but the water absorption rate needs to be at 0.5% or less. It also needs to be, the glaze needs to be acid and chemical resistant. That's one of the features that makes tile pool tile. And at the same time, because pools are spec'd on the water line at 6 inches, sizing is a key factor in pool tile. We put a lot of thought into the design and the suitability of the tile for pool installation.
Thank you, Summer. If you want to find out more, click the link below in the write-up or go to mptpool.com. And don't forget to follow MPT Pool Products on Instagram and Facebook for the latest photos and product information.
When we had our pool service company, we had, almost 400 pools, and they were all built by different people. I mean, there's a group that was like, probably 30 paddock pools or whatever it be. But would it be like a good move for a pool service company to like learn renovations so that they could almost start renovating the pools that they have, and they can start building like pools that they know from the bottom up?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the best segue to even get in the pool business, is to not become a pool builder, right? Start with renovation of pools. Start with a structure that's already there, already has some problems. You know what the problems are. I mean, like you just brought up, let's say you've been servicing a pool for 4 years. You know all the nuances, right? You know the circulation sucks. You know the skimmer doesn't pull water at all. You know that the skimmer is actually on the wrong side of the pool because the wind always blows that way. So that not only is the skimmer working, but I got a pile of crap on the other side of the pool because there should be a skimmer over there.
Right.
Now you know that pool. Should you be the guy that renovates it? I guarantee you the homeowner is going to ask you if you know anybody that can renovate their pool. The chances of them asking some random guy on the street or asking the pool guy that's in their backyard once a week is pretty high. That, hey, Josh or Tyler or James or Joe, can you tell me who could renovate my pool or give me some ideas on how to renovate my pool? Well, first of all, you can refer somebody. That would work, right? You can maybe make a couple bucks referring somebody, but you're already renovating pools at some level. If you're a pool service guy, when the pool pump goes out, are you going to change the pool pump out? Probably. Do you understand the hydraulic requirements and what's going to probably happen? And I would tell you in most pools in the state, in any state for that matter, the pump's not sized correctly in the first place. So most guys will just replace the pump with the existing pump that was there. Well, if you had a little bit of knowledge, you might actually be able to tell the client that they need a different size pump, and it would actually make the pool more efficient or function better. Or you might understand that if you're replacing this too, you ought to also maybe talk them into replacing some other parts because you understand it better. You guys have, as a service company, you had 400 potential referral clients at your beck and call 24/7. You have a mailing list for them. You send them a bill every month. Hey, customers, by the way, I now renovate pools, and here's what we can do for you. Thinking about adding this, like, boom, you have 400 clients that you're already talking to that already trust you with their money, already trust you in their backyard. You don't think you can sell them a pool or a renovation? I think you've got the best opportunity to make that your business. And this is a great segue into full-fledged construction. Obviously, you need to be properly licensed depending on what state you're in and what you're doing. But I think it's a great way to go from servicing pools to doing minor renovations, then starting into major renovations, then starting into construction. And what I usually see happen is we got a guy that's cleaning pools and servicing pools on week 1, and week 2, he's a pool builder. That's a pretty big step, right? You certainly have some knowledge of building pools, and I won't lie to you, that's what I did. I watched guys build some pools for me. I had a guy my partner that in business that had some pool industry experience, meaning he ran a company that did pool cleanup. So once they finished shotcrete, before they did interior plaster, his company came in, scraped the shells, cut the pipes, cleaned the site up. That was our pool experience. And we decided we could start building pools. Was that a mistake? I don't think so. I mean, long term it worked for me, but I didn't know there was an avenue that I could take different from that. Had I known that there was an avenue like this, I would have taken this first and learned some more before I stepped into it. But it is absolutely the best step I think you could take as a service company to get into pool construction in any way, is to take the renovations course and be able to start selling renovations to clients. Simple stuff. You can even start off with the simplest. We're just going to do lipstick. We're going to put a new deck on it. We're going to change the waterline tile out and put a new interior. But once you take this class, you're going to learn, I got to address my drains. Are my drains up to code? Is my plumbing circulation sizes up to code? How about my electrical? Well, they need a new pool pump. All right, we're going to put a new 3 horsepower variable speed pump on it. Well, is the wire size big enough? Because it was a 1.5 horsepower pump. There's all these little things you start learning that you can mistakenly do wrong and have problems for the client, or you can learn all the pieces and parts, and then you can sell them a properly renovated pool so you can get the next referral of the next renovated pool. And this is a pretty cheap class if you think about that, because even what's the simplest remodel you could do on a pool? Even if you just do lipstick and put a new pump on, it's going to cost them $8 to $10 grand. right? That's a big sale when you're talking about selling $125 a week service contracts, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a pretty good sale. If you can make 10% on top of that, you're making $1,000. Okay, my class is half paid for. Let's do it again. Now my class is paid for. Now let's do a $30,000 renovation. So it's very easy to enter this business and do it. But even a little bit of knowledge to start would be super helpful, right? And you start creating some resources. You might create a relationship with Rick Chafey because I'm teaching the class with Bill Drakely, right? Now you have a big renovation project coming up in Mesa. Not really sure I'm capable of doing it. Hey, Rick, I have a renovation project. I'd like to do it. I could use help on the design. Sure, we can help you figure that out, check the hydraulics for you, give you some details. Now you get to renovate. Like, that's the part that you start creating, is all those connections to figure out who to use, who would you call for the subcontractor base, who do I talk to? You're starting to create that in the business, but until you've taken the classes and started to understand what you should or shouldn't do, you'll be afraid to push the limits. And like for instance, if you're a pool service guy, I doubt the first thing you want to do is add a spa to an existing swimming pool. It's really not that complicated though. If we walk you through the parts and you do them the way we say, it's a super easy thing to do, and you can provide a client an excellent renovation with a really change the backyard. One thing for me, like when people remodel or do renovations to stuff, to me, if they ask us to do it, we don't want to touch it if it's just kind of paint, and colors. We want them to walk back there and be wowed by the change. And so anytime we do that work, we want to make a huge change to the backyard, change the shape of the pool, add a spa to it, take the crappy water feature that somebody built 7 years ago and do something that fits the environment or works better in the backyard or fits the architecture better. Those are all the parts you'll learn even longer into the program. But I mean, you just have to start knowing what you can do so you can sell what you can.
Very good. Thank you. Oh, buddy, we got a special announcement here.
Yes, we do.
So our friends at Jandy are crushing it with their push to quit the internet.
Crushing it.
We recently made a special trip to San Diego to see their new facility, which is amazing. But most importantly, to get an update on their progress with catching online violators. We had the opportunity of sitting in on their enforcement meeting, and let me tell you, this was taken a lot more seriously than we thought it would. They showed us a chart of violations and, their progress from January till now. They're at 82% attainment of compliance, meaning from day one when they started policing and enforcing to today, they have reduced the number of Jandy violations online by 82%.
It's simple. The customer wants to go online and save a few dollars by purchasing their equipment online. This is something that we've all gone through as service professionals, and Jandy's heard the cry. They've taken a stand and they've supported our industry. They understand that only a qualified pool professional should work around electrical, gas, and hydraulic connections. I mean, have you even seen a customer work with that kind of stuff?
I have, and it's not pretty.
Definitely not pretty. Jandy's warranty will not cover any Jandy equipment that is not purchased, installed, and or serviced by a pool professional. This will save you guys time and money by allowing you to avoid those awkward conversations with your customer and let you focus on the part of the business that you do best. If you want to find out more details, listen to episode 31 of the podcast or go to jandy.com/builtstrong. That's jandy.com/builtstrong. Right, and here speaking of renovations, so what we've been talking about, he keeps mentioning Renovations Class, is that Genesis is actually going to hold a Construction 281 major renovations class here in Phoenix, Arizona. And as you mentioned, it's going to be you and Bill Drakely teaching it. So can you just tell us a little bit more about the class and kind of get into some of the objectives and what's important to understand these things?
Sure. So first and foremost, we're going to teach that class locally in Arizona. Haven't done a class in Arizona for a long time, but we're going to teach a 2-day class here September 30th and October 1st. Those will be 2 full days of class covering major renovations. So like I said, we're not so worried about chipping out the interior and putting plaster in. We're going to talk you through either pools that have failed dramatically, meaning they sunk or they've cracked or they've had major structural failures, or actually renovating a project that's just getting old and worn and needs to be updated, meaning we're going to, and maybe we want to add a Baja shelf, or maybe we have a deep end diver they want to turn into a shallow pool. All those different, a little bit more complex types of renovations. We're going to cover that kind of stuff. We cover lunches, breakfast, breaks, dinner with the group and the instructors. Drakely's coming in from the Northeast. If you don't know who he is, he's a genius when it comes to shotcrete, concrete, those kind of things. He works for governments. He works on tunnel lining systems. He does huge shotcrete projects in addition to his swimming pool business. And he's on a bunch of different boards, and he's big into the science of shotcrete and understanding how to do it right. And that's a huge part of proper renovations, is actually examining the existing shell. Is it even capable? Should we be messing with the shell? Is it structurally sound? And then what things can we even structurally do to this thing to change it? Can I make a round pool square? Can I enlarge it? Can I shrink it? Can I blow out a side on it? Can I fix a major structural failure? How do I figure out where it's not failing, where it is? All those parts and pieces, we're going to cover a bunch of that in those 16 hours so you can really understand what you should or shouldn't do when renovating a pool of that size, or what you could, how far you can push the limits, right? Most customers you'll find have kind of an idea, but if you don't have better ideas for them or can't open them up, you can take a simple renovation and make it much more complex and make it into a much bigger project if you have the confidence and the knowledge behind what to do. And I think this class helps fill all those voids for people. A lot of people do construction new and aren't sure how to do some of the tougher renovation types.
Right. So there's a list of objectives as I just mentioned, but can you guys kind of walk through those a little bit and what each one of these kind of means?
Yeah, I don't have a list in front of me, but I know, in general terms, we're gonna start you from soup to nuts on the renovation of a pool. We're gonna actually take a project for you, kind of from start to finish, and show you what it looked like when we started, and what all we did through the process. We're gonna teach you how to analyze the existing structure, analyze the existing soils, the drainage and grading around it, the equipment pad, the equipment sets, evaluate the hydraulics that are in place, and then walk you through what you need to do to evaluate it, but also then what can we do on that same project and what kind of renovations can we change, and how to evaluate, one, how to do that, what that might cost in some level so you understand what it takes to do that type of renovation. And we'll cover structural engineering side of some stuff so you understand what we might need to do structurally for that. We'll cover soils analysis and why soils are important. And then we'll start talking through raised bodies, tougher negative edge details, adding a negative edge, taking a negative edge off a pool, raising a bond beam, lowering a bond beam, what to look at electrically, what to look at mechanically. So, that it's the objectives of the class are to try to give you a huge overview of what type of renovations can actually be done to a concrete in-ground pool, and how to address those things from the get-go, and how to analyze the existing substructures that are there to make sure they should be renovated, and or what needs to maybe be repaired. So that's a pretty broad stroke, but we cover each part of that. We cover electrical and electrical codes. We're going to cover some hydraulics and hydraulic codes. We're going to cover some of the different types of structural things you're going to run into, and what a lot of the failure things we see on typical pools when you get into renovating them, where you need to start. A lot of them have skimmer problems or broken skimmer plumbing. A lot of them have bond beam issues. Like in Arizona, we've got a bunch of these rolled bond beams that are collapsing on us. We've got negative edges that have bad waterproofing or bad concrete between them, so the tile keeps falling off. We're going to walk you through why that's happening, why you need to know what's happening there. Because one thing I've seen wrong, even as a builder myself, I've come back to a renovated pool that's been renovated twice, and done this multiple times, where the negative edge continues to fail, and they keep trying to tell them it's whatever it's not what you applied on the outside. It's one, what you applied on the inside, and two is how was the structure built. And usually it's a failure of both. They haven't waterproofed properly and the structure was poorly built. Well, if you go renovate that pool, you now own that problem, right? So if somebody else created a problem, you walked in the backyard and said, I'll make it look pretty again. You just inherited the problem. And now a year later, you got a client calling you saying, hey, my tile's falling off my negative edge. What's going on? We're going to teach you why that's happening. We're going to explain to you what to look for and tell you why you can solve those problems. But if you don't know what to look for, you're not going to know that. You're going to cost yourself some money. So it's kind of a pieces and parts of all the different things of dissecting the construction of the pool to begin with, and then reconstructing it correctly. How to apply new shotcrete to old concrete, right? Most people don't realize we can do that without cold joints. They don't realize what you got to do to get onto the steel itself and how you tie it back together. We're going to walk through all those parts and then show you how it can be done correctly and show you a start to finish project.
That's really cool. Do you guys talk about different permits, licensing, and different things like that you need for any of the renovations? How is the renovations different from, the builder stuff? Because maybe at one time when the pool is being built, it already had all the permits and all those different things. Does it change when you do the renovation?
The problem with that is it's pretty regional, meaning it could be different by city and by states.
Yeah, people probably come from all over, huh?
Right. People come into our classes quite a bit from all over. So what I do know I've seen often happen in our classes is Joe raises his hand and say, hey, I'm in Texas. I'm doing this kind of project. Do you know what the rules are here? And maybe one of us doesn't, but hey, the guy on the other side of the room is from Texas and he knows the rules. And so sometimes we can get those in the Q&As. Licensing, most like in Arizona, you have to be licensed to be able to do some major renovations. You can do some simpler equipment swaps, but once you get into major renovations of a structure like that, you need to be licensed as a pool remodel or a pool builder, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. So, and each state has totally different nuances of what someone will have any licensing requirements whatsoever, even if you're building a real pool, right? Versus renovation. And then you get into LA and you got to have a license to, to wake up in the morning and go to work. So it just depends on what you're doing. So we'll cover a little bit of that, but most projects that we're going to cover in this renovation class are going to require permits in most municipalities, because we're talking major renovation stuff. We're not going to explain to you how to chip out a pool and what you should do to replaster it. We're going to explain to you how to break out a section of the pool, how to rebuild that section. We're going to explain to you how to fix structural failures in a pool. We're going to teach you how to shallow up a deep end diver and turn it into a Baja shelf, how to do that correctly, right?
That's really cool.
There's a lot of those things that there's a few simple tricks that if you do correctly, you won't have problems. But if you do it incorrectly and don't realize what you should be doing, you could have long-term problems with it. So it's pretty helpful in those things. And then usually it's a good bounce back and forth when we get, 25, 30 people in a class. Everybody's got some of their own experience and some of their own problems, and we'll show a failure and like, oh yeah, I've seen that happen before. Here's what we did. And so we do a little bit of that while we're doing it too. But you've got, you'll always have a couple good experts in the room that are teaching the class, and certainly a bunch of experience. Usually in the room, you'll have, hundreds of years of experience in the field of running into problems, and a lot of aha moments like, oh, that's why that happens. I didn't know that,
Right.
A lot of places like here, we wrap steel around our skimmers and shoot them in with our pool. There's a lot of places that shoot the pool and set the skimmer afterwards and don't have it tied in that way. Those fail a ton. Most people don't realize an easy way to fix that or how to change it or add a skimmer. So we're going to walk through some of those techniques and details too, so people can change the way they're building, even the current pools they're building, but also when they're doing renovations.
What about contracts or liability? You guys kind of go, because I feel like if you're just servicing pools and then you get into like renovating pools, there's a different type of liability and different issues you can run into, and how much insurance you may need to have, and you guys kind of go over some of that stuff.
We cover that a little bit. I think anything running a business, you definitely want to manage your liability more than anything. And from servicing a pool, you can have a green pool and a pissed off customer, right? And obviously you got some health issues too if you're not careful with how you service the pool. But your risk is pretty minor there. You're not going to make some major changes to somebody's pool. I mean, you could have mustard gas in their backyard if you mix a few things wrong, but in general terms, you're limited your liability. As soon as you break into the construction field, you certainly need to start managing it as a construction business, right? And so you do need to change what you're doing. One, you need contracts, right? You want to have written contracts so that they and you understand what you're doing. Two is you need to have proper licenses so that you're working in the state properly, and you need to be able to permit what you're doing. So it's going to require a little bit of design work and probably some structural engineering depending on where you're at. But we're gonna walk you through what should be in that plan set in the class. We'll walk you through what minimum standards you should be looking at when it comes to structural engineering, hydraulics, so that you understand what pieces need to be involved. And you certainly will need to get yourself in a position to be able to be a licensed contractor doing that work if that's what your municipality requires. Like in Arizona, you would have to be licensed to do that work. And yes, carry proper liability insurance. Back to the experience and education piece, that's the big missing part that will give you. One, will help you get insurance eventually too, but also help you never use your insurance, is having some education behind what you're doing, because the fastest way to fail is to wing it, right? And it seems cheap to begin with because I don't have to spend a couple $1,000s to take a class, but the first time you screw up somebody's pool and they come after you, it'll cost you thousands of dollars just to prove you're right. Even if you didn't do anything wrong, you'll spend thousands of dollars. The best way to prove that you're right to begin with is keep the relationship with the client and be able to prove that you knew what you were talking about. I would tell you we've been in the expert witness stuff we deal with, most of that stuff gets settled long before we ever see a courtroom, because an interview with a pool builder and his lack of knowledge, and an interview with the expert and his actual knowledge, and the disconnect between the guy that built the pool and the guy that's now investigating the pool is pretty far apart. And usually the builder wants to fix it quickly, because we can prove pretty quickly that he should have known that these things were going to happen. And that would have, a couple $1,000s in education would have stopped all that from happening. And that's what this is to do, right? It's going to teach you what you should, what you shouldn't, maybe what you shouldn't touch, right? You walk in the backyard and say, should I renovate this pool? Looks like there's a lot of structural failures in here. Here's what we should do. I want to call a structural engineer. I don't want to be a structural engineer. That's not my job. I could just throw some new plaster in here and hope it doesn't leak. But what I'm going to do is tell you, let's hire a structural engineer. We'll bring him in. I'll make some money on top of that, but we'll meet together. He'll look at the pool and analyze it for us. He'll tell us whether we can fix this pool or not. And then you go out. We're going to teach you kind of those things of what you should do and what that stage should be, so that you make sure you don't put your foot in there.
Right. Do you remember after you took the renovation class, the first renovation you did after that class and what that was like? Do you remember that at all?
Well, I was teaching the class before I took it, because this class is a fairly new class.
Okay.
I would tell you that however, that I learned through the teaching of this class, because I put it together, it was put together with Paula Benedetti, Bill Drakely, Dave Peterson, a little bit of my input, and we created the class. And just that, like I said before, the teaching part, I learned just as much teaching as I ever do in consuming the class when I take it. So, and just in the beginning process of doing that and bringing 4 or 5 people together and putting all their information together, we learn from each other all the time. And so we absolutely gave me ideas, even in my own business, how we could do a few things we wouldn't normally want to get involved in, or how to do them better. Especially on the, just simple stuff like people want to add a Baja shelf to their pool. Like, what's the process? Like, I know enough about construction and concrete and all those parts and pieces, but I also learned a couple tricks to make it faster and easier than the way we would have done it. So there's no question. I sometimes even teach my own classes and teach all by myself, and I walk out of there knowing more, because just the interactions with the students and somebody else having better feedback and saying, hey, I've done that before, but I did it this way. And so it's quite enlightening.
Right. So of all the different things you guys talk about, what's your favorite topic if you had to pick?
For me, we like to do, really complex stuff. And so the topic we talk about most, especially for Genesis 2, is a lot of their integrated structures when we're dealing with heavy structural details that are either tied to an architectural piece or hanging off a cliff, or got some really detailed, either acrylic panels or holding some columns up on a structure. We do a lot of that type of work, both on the construction side and the pool side. And so that's my favorite thing to have discussions about, is how to manage all those parts, because we've taken, like we did a rooftop pool a few years ago that we used for a class topic, we would use that whole program, that whole project as a teaching element, because there's every part you could possibly run into. One, we're building a swimming pool in the air. 2 is it's sitting on top of an architectural structure. 3, it's next to, a high dollar garage. Next, on top of a roof. It's got acrylic panel. It's got a glass tile interior. It's got all the parts. And I would have never tried to do that job. Never even thought we could do that job, except that I had assembled all these pieces of education over the years, and then have tried parts and pieces of it, and then also had resources to go back to figure out, hey, here's something I haven't really done. Anybody have an idea how to solve this problem? So it really does, eventually come full circle and give you a huge amount of confidence and even abilities to do stuff and come out of thinking out of the box.
That's really cool.
And plus, in addition to our construction type classes, we have a huge design side of our classes too. And so the renovations, for instance, we're going to talk about some cool design concepts in there too, and kind of give you some ideas of what we can do design wise. So it's not just construction related. Give you some ideas on how to, freshen pools up or make them look more modern and more today. But we also have, outside of renovations, we have courses that are nothing but design basics, design standards, so that you are not only capable of doing the technical piece of it, you're better able to integrate into what's there from an architectural's perspective or the designer's perspective, and mold together with them better and be a team player. So it's a long-term investment with a really long-term goal over time, but you keep adding those parts to it. It just makes you that much more durable.
Very good.
One thing with our classes too is they're fully accredited, so which is hard to find in the pool world. A lot of times you got to go to weird classes at a university or something to get some accreditation. So architects, engineers, Florida students that come out of Florida, like Florida requires their pool builders to keep continuing education credits. Our classes are properly accredited for that stuff too. So an architect can come and get 16 hours of IACET accredited classes by taking one of our courses. So and we've done that because we've proven to them that our course information is correct. We've got, we set the right objectives. We have all the course information in there. We provide the textbook and we do all that. So all that's tied together, so everybody gets accredited information. So if you've got hours you need for your architectural license, or you got hours you need because you're a Florida pool builder, these suffice for all of that. And if you're a registered member or an SWD master and you have to keep your credits up through the Genesis program and the Society of Watershape Designers, this also applies to that too. So there is a deadline. I know we have a deadline, I think August 28th, to get signed up for the classes. You can register either on genesis3.com or genesisuniversity.org. You can read, if you just start Googling that stuff, it'll pop up. You'll find it. It's held at the Sheraton Grand at Wild Horse Pass. So we're at a cool location. Paramount Infloor is going to be at the same location because they're actually putting on one of their business seminars for their pool builders. So we're kind of segueing with that. I'll be involved in theirs a little bit too, but mostly over here teaching. And you got a great, Drake Lee's probably the funnest guy to take classes from. He's from the pool building world. He's so down to earth, no bullshit, the real deal all the time, tells you how it is, really knows how to teach you how to use shotcrete methods and concrete in a pool structure, the engineering side, and then just the aesthetics of it. So it's a great program. I think everybody would gain a lot from, and it's worth taking the risk. If you're afraid to do it, take the risk. I guarantee you won't walk out of there and think you've left any money on the table.
Yeah, really excited for it. It looks like it's going to be extremely beneficial for anybody that doesn't know anything about it. Or, we were just talking before this that even if you weren't going to do renovations, just the fact that, if you had the finances, you had the money to do it, but just taking the class so you have a better understanding of how pools work. And if a customer is going to do a renovation one day, you could banter and have that conversation with them, and you can hang in that talk and maybe referral some other companies, but you could probably vet other companies as well because you have a better understanding of, what renovation really is.
Right.
So definitely, sure it's going to be a killer class.
Well, I think you'll know too, as a service guy, you can start picking up what's going wrong with somebody's pool and let the client know when it actually needs to be renovated. I see a lot of patchwork and trying to tweak things to sort of make things work and not understanding why the failure is happening. And I think service guys end up doing a lot of that too, because they're kind of left with a project that they don't know how it was constructed. They don't see what was put together, but they know what's failing. And so they kind of struggle to kind of keep things together. It'll give you a better understanding of the construction piece of it. So you might know when it's the time to tell the client, hey, I can keep limping this pool, but it's time for you to start thinking about renovation.
Right.
So once again, the dates are September 30th through October 1st. The price is $2,400, includes all materials, breakfast, breaks, lunch each day, and a group dinner one night together. And you can go to register at genesis3.com or genesisuniversity.org. The .org is important.
Thank you so much, Rick.
No problem.
Appreciate you being here with us.
I like being here. I look forward to seeing everybody there. We'll have a great time teaching it, and you'll learn a lot from it.
Great.
Thank you. Thanks for checking out this episode. If you want to find out more about our guests or the sponsors of the show, you can check them out on the links we have provided in the write-up below. We have also provided links to our social media platforms, so please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Our tag is Pool Chasers. If the podcast has brought you any value, please do what you can to support us through our Patreon page by going to patreon.com/poolchasers. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast to be updated each time a new episode is released. One last thing. If you're not yet in our Facebook group, join it today to be surrounded by like-minded individuals who are all trying to better the industry. Thank you all for the support. We appreciate your time and your ear.
See you out there, pool chasers.